Gentlemen, my name is Anza Saqib, and welcome to one more episode of Rendezvous with Anza Saqib on CxO Global TV. CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across Pakistan and the globe. We try and contribute to the knowledge economy, and we learn from our members who are thought leaders and influencers, the movers and shakers of the corporate world. Today, as well, we've got someone with wide range of expertise. We've got Mr. Fouzan Ali Kazim. He's the head of corporate solution product digital banking group at Bank Alfalah Limited. How are you, Fouzan?
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Fouzan,
Thank you.
you have a very impressive LinkedIn profile as well, and the fact that you're a part of CxO Global Forum also says that you are someone who's really seen a lot within the corporate ladder. So, how did this journey begin? Where did you go to school? What courses did you study? How did you end up where you are right now?
Thank you, Anza. Firstly, pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me on this show. So, as far as the journey is concerned, it's actually quite a bit of a funny story. So, I'll start off with where I went to school. So, I was, I think, an average achiever as far as studies was concerned, and I started off with generally a science-based background. So it comes as a shock to a lot of people that somebody who started off with subjects such as physics, chemistry, and bio, which are
Uh-huh.
generally are taken as subjects which are quite nerdy, some for that matter, if I may quote.
Absolutely.
Um, so, so it was mostly a science-based major that I started off with. I went from schooling to LUMS, did my bachelor's from there, and then I joined the banking industry, which was in itself was a change as far as I was concerned. So the transition generally came about during my period at LUMS, where the whole concept of business and banking came into being. I joined the bank. I started off with my career at Standard Chartered, which was a sole retail banking based job. The job in itself was a benchmark or a bench line for me to start thinking around what else is available as far as the banking is concerned, where I was introduced to the whole digital side of the banking. So that is where my interest in the branchless banking ambit and the digital banking ambit started off.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I joined Telenor as part of the Easy Pesa team, where the branchless banking experience came into play. And from there, now I'm at Bank of working for from a
Lovely.
product standpoint.
So that's a very inspiring journey. But you definitely are one of those people who are the pioneers or among the pioneers in branchless banking throughout Pakistan in particular. So how have you seen this industry evolve over the last decade, let's say, for example? And how do you see it in the next 10 years?
I think as far as firstly, thank you for the compliment on the being a pioneer, or at least one of the pioneers. Um, so one tends to think about getting into the digital space of Pakistan. One tends to see that there are lots and lots of new innovation that has come into play in the past 10 years. So the innovation has been exponential, starting from the advent of branchless banking. So I consider that as the platform where the digital aspect started off. Um, Having said that, you've seen a lot of evolution as far as the banking branchless banking platform was concerned. You started off with a non or a very simple non-technology based platform. You went from there to an interplay or linkage between a lot of banks and players in the market. You went from there to being a biometric intensive industry. And now with the whole platform evolving again, we're looking into micropayments with the advent of MPGS, with the advent of RAS. You're looking into things that are happening so quickly, it's so real time that it's actually unbelievable that this industry started off about 10 to 15 years back within Pakistan. So the conventional banking took a step back, branches banking has taken over, and now the branches banking is actually moving into the digital banking ambit.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
in the next 10 years, if you ask me with the same pace, my understanding of this whole scenario is that it will be at a level where when we see today in the first world markets where digital payments are actually like not even a click away. It's more like you passing by, you flash your phone, and it's done in there. You see that happening today in Pakistan. So NFC enabled payments are there.
Yeah,
So our
absolutely.
digitalization of
QR
payment
payments.
gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah, QR payments are there. There are multiple other ambits that are being worked upon throughout the industry where all you need to do is just give a click and that's it. You're done. You don't even have to worry about following things up. So that evolution in itself gives you an idea how quickly things have evolved and where we're going. Uh, Blockchain is another example. A lot of people, there was a lot of buzz around this about 2 years, 3 years back. Markets, international markets have actually evolved and they've gotten those things implemented. However, Pakistan is getting there. I think it's just a matter of maybe a couple of years when we'll be utilizing it as a benchmark, base mark for, let's say, the simplest things as KYC evaluation or
KYC.
EPI behavior tracking. So,
Talking
so
about talking about the telco sector, I'm going to interrupt you a little over here because this is something that you very important that you touched upon, and
mhm.
a lot within the telco sector in particular, we have been hearing this buzzword called KYC, know your customer, know your client. What exactly does this entail, and what impact is it going to have on our lives and businesses in the future?
When we talk about KYC, I think this is a buzzword these days. And when we talk about a buzzword, we talk about the implication of this specific buzzword in the local market, in the international market, with respect to regulatory frameworks, locally and internationally. So KYC in itself is nothing more than knowing who your actually customer is. What does that customer do? What are the demographics that the customer belongs to? What is the source of income that that specific person has? So in essence, you're just trying to figure out what that person is and what are the needs of that specific person from any individual point of view. It's not just banking for that matter. It's also it could be as basic as somebody who's booking a ride from one of the ride hailing firms these days. I can take Kareem as an example. I can take Uber as
Yeah.
an example. So you exactly know where that person belongs, person is located, and how to basically utilize this as part of the big data analysis that is being done today. So it just gives you a pinpoint idea as to what your target market is, who your target customer is, and how things can be utilized or offered as part of your platform.
Absolutely. And they say a lot of it has to do with data. Like data is going to be the new oil. And since you are working in the telco sector, there's a lot of overlap with the financial sector in particular. How is data going to play a role in ensuring better, you know, financial standpoints for a lot of our Pakistanis? Because especially in a polarized market like ours, where there are some, sure, there's digital banking, sure, there are payment gateways. However, and correct me if I'm wrong, about more than 50-60% of the businesses there, even big companies with big sales turnovers, they're still using, kachi receipts and brick and mortar system. So how do you see this transition that will take place?
I think, Anta, in my opinion, we've come a far way from the brick and mortar presence and the receipt requirement. Um, so just to give you an example, if somebody would have, let's say 5 years ago, said that you'll get a digital receipt for anything that you do, I would
Mm-hmm.
have been as skeptic as the next person for that matter. But today, if you see, again, I'm just going to give you an example from the branches buying segment. You do a transaction online, you do a transaction through an agent, you do a transaction anywhere. you get a digital receipt, and you know for a fact that this is the authentic source.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that change has actually given that confidence to the market where you don't need a physical presence or a physical receipt somewhere. Um, Having said that, when most of the population that we deal with, and obviously we understand, even from my point of view, when I say about products, we understand the requirement where there is always a little bit of hesitance when it comes to accepting digital platforms and digital methodologies as something that one can blindly trust on. So even though we've started that process, that ball has started rolling off, but I think we still have a long way to go.
Absolutely. This also, brings to mind the fact that I know a lot of people, and my parents included. I know a lot of senior bankers who have been like bankers for decades now, and they do have this element of there's a lack of digital trust, if you may. Because especially like post pandemic, a lot of businesses have been forced to go online as well and go digital. Yet, I mean, people are feel that it's way more safer to literally sign a check now than to do e-transactions or online shoppings, and that is somehow hindering our progress when it comes to being at par with the world. How do you think this narrative can be tackled, and what are the steps that you have been taking to ensure that there's very minimal risk for all the consumers?
I'll be honest, I think your analysis of the situation is quite spot on. Um, uh, I can't blame other people for not doing it when the same thing I see happens at my own place. My parents are of, I think, from that age bracket where they still trust a checkbook more than an ATM card for that matter,
Yeah,
let alone an online
absolutely.
application. So, in all honesty, I think the whole industry is working towards it. The key factor to remove the hesitation, I think, basically, it all boils down to how user friendly things are. Because tangibility is one thing that our market or our industry, or in fact, from a social economic perspective, also, our people in general want. A simple example would be going to the market to buy vegetables for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, until unless you don't look at the vegetable and you're not sure that that specific vegetable is fine for you to take home, you generally don't buy it. So, if you, let's say, order online, and in my opinion, I think it's one of the best models to have, let's say, an online grocery scenario running. One does not want to get into it until unless they're sure that somebody's offering a service which is actually at par with their requirements. So it's all about meeting the requirements to what the industry is offering. Replicating the same thing as far as banking is concerned, as far as the digital platforms are concerned, I think the platforms have evolved quite a bit. So the base requirement of somebody to have a sure shot confirmation that the transaction has been done, I think that has brought the market or the trust of the people quite a bit up the curve. Uh, that's number one. The second part would be that when it comes to money matters, a lot of people are skeptical in general.
Yeah,
So, in
absolutely.
order to
Sure.
remove in order to remove that skepticism, I think the best way is to ensure that to give that specific customer service, to be at the heart and the core of customer experience, which is something that, in my opinion, the industry in itself has evolved on quite a bit. So people started off working with, let's say, a product-centric approach, which was maybe the case about 20 years, 25 years back. And now everything is evolving around what the customer wants. What customer-centric approach can be taken? How and what are the minute details that one can provide just to give a little bit of edge to the industry, to the product, and that comfort or that customer experience edge to the customer for that matter. So I think
Absolutely.
that those are the two core things that I would think would
And
be different.
there's one point that's key here, and you spoke about customer experience. And since you have been working in product development as well, um, tell me where we need to improve on in terms of customer experience and how that can really help our IT industry or the financial sector and overall the corporate sector improve in the future. Because I believe that now titles around the world have changed as well, so it's no longer a sales job; it's a customer experience job.
Correct. So I would have mentioned that myself, that a sales job is now an obsolete methodology. So all you need to do is listen to the customer. And I think that that is one thing that our industry, be it banking, be it any other industry in the market, uh, people have actually started to hear and actually listen to what a customer wants. Rather than pushing something down somebody's throat, it's easier to develop something in line with what the customer needs. So customer experience, again, rightly said, when it comes to a hassle-free scenario, I think anybody would want to move towards or tilt their biasness towards a specific product. And us being generally product managers and product heads for that matter, it's a very tricky line to actually be on, where just a small uh, I wouldn't say a glitch, but a small deviation from what the industry norm is, or something which doesn't give an edge to the customer, it actually tilts the whole product upside down. So it's those small little things which actually gives you that edge. It gives you that comfort that yeah, something in the market is actually helping us out.
Right, absolutely. And Fauzan, now that you've also been in a position of leadership, sort, and managing other people, how does one ensure what are the key ingredients of making a successful team within like a big banking system, for example?
I think a team has its own individual components, which is something, in my opinion, at least, we should never forget that it is the individuals which actually make up a team. A team will eventually have those people who are actually going to be giving you an insight as to their relevant setups and their relevant detailing and their relevant skill set. Um, Based on their individual knowledge and skill set, it all boils down to how well oiled and well gelled the team is. So, at any given point in time, a team needs to be completely in sync with what the requirements are, what needs to be done, and how quickly it needs to be done. One thing that I personally believe has come a long way is the fact that the industry in itself wants like a quick turnaround time of everything. It's not just from a customer experience point of view, it's also from a point of view that if today we have an opportunity to capitalize on with regards to the customer, it always helps to be in that leadership position to roll something out really quickly. And with changing times and with changing absolutely everything going really, really quickly, I think we've come a long way in realizing that things are supposed to be done really quickly to give that edge for us. So, in my opinion, I think a well-oiled team would be a team where everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody knows that they're well gelled, and they work hand in hand, ensuring that everybody is covering the other person with respect to their specific teamwork.
Absolutely. Another thing that really, matters in this day and age was something that we all realized this last year with the pandemic, with COVID-19. Some businesses made very heavy losses, while others, their sales skyrocketed. So one thing that was common among, you know, every business was that there was a big learning curve. And I want to know that in the financial sector in a big bank, uh, what was the experience for you all? How was the business affected, and was there any firefighting that you had to do?
I think COVID-19 in itself. was challenging for everybody, be it on a personal level or on a professional level, irrespective of the fact how things went along. You rightly said so. There were businesses that got quite brutally affected by it, and others did soar away. Uh, I personally think the companies which were able to manage a better result by the end of 2020 had one particular edge, which was being digitally savvy. Um, I think with a lot of us, even us included for that matter, people who were able to quickly move from a office-based role to a home-based management of everything, they were able to easily manage things out. Um, Even in my personal capacity, it wasn't very easy to move from a office-based role to a home-based role. So I think cohesion came into play through the digital platforms that we had, be it from an external point of view. When I talk about the banking industry, digital payments was one thing that kind of helped. Um, Obviously, the regulator themselves were very supportive throughout the whole process. Um, and internally speaking, for organizations, it was people who actually were able to move their uh, brick and mortar presence onto a digital platform of any sort, for that matter, were
Mhm.
able to manage things much more efficiently.
Absolutely.
Um, the lockdown was actually quite a bit much for everybody. I think it wasn't just for the banking industry or for any other industry. It was very difficult to manage for other people as well. Uh, However, the digital support actually helped throughout the whole process. So that way, you can, from a comparison point of view, if you see throughout the globe, Pakistan, even though was most affected by a lot of things, but still there were multiple positive outcomes. One of them being, and that's a prime example that we give generally is, for example, SARS emergency program. I'm sure you must have heard about it. uh, the biggest safety net program that is being run,
Yeah.
which was there in Pakistan and has yet more augmented a lot of buzz throughout the globe, where about 14 million people were supported throughout this difficult time. So that is just one small example. Online groceries was another one where a lot of people got support when people were unable to move out of their places during this time. Um, Hospitals were working digitally speaking. They were doing consultancies online. Doctors were basically given out OPDs through online sessions. So the world has changed, in all honesty, when it comes to a post-COVID scenario. And I don't think the world is going back to the original state anymore.
Absolutely. So yeah, the world as we know it has changed, and Fauzan, with that, unfortunately, we couldn't keep track of time. The conversation was very enlightening, very informative. We would love to hear more from you, but we're short on time right now, and I would like to end, today's session, today's interview, with asking you, how has being a part of CXO Global Forum changed or impacted your life?
In my personal opinion, and I'm really grateful to be part of the group itself. Uh, the members of CxO Global are actually they're they're the best in the industry. They know what's going on, and they're the best source of information that comes across. So there are multiple things that I, as an individual, have learned over the period of time, ever since I've been part of the CxO Global Group, uh, where things like as basic as the telco industry, where I've been part of the banking side of it, but not the core telco side. So it gives you an information on what's happening in the world, what's happening locally in other parts of the industries too. So it's basically the best platform as far as I'm concerned to actually know what's happening and to exchange ideas, to
And to
exchange
share
best
knowledge.
practices and share knowledge for sure.
Absolutely. Fauzan, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you soon and hear more from you. Thank you, ladies
Surely.
and
Thank you.
gentlemen. That's all for now. We will be interviewing another very special guest in the next episode. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you.